Item 627. Treated timber poles. 1. Description. Furnish and install treated timber poles. 2. Materials. Use new treated southern pine timber poles in accordance with ANSI 05.1, specifications and dimensions for wood poles, and the additional requirements of this item. Use ANSI Class 5 treated timber poles for electrical services and ANSI Class 2 for all other applications, unless otherwise shown on the plans. Ensure poles are free from pith holes at the tops and butts. Do not use poles that have a trimmed scar with a depth greater than 2 inches, if the diameter is 10 inches or less, or 1/5 the pole diameter at the scar location. If the diameter is more than 10 inches, provide poles that do not deviate from straightness by more than 1 inch for each 10 feet of length. A pole may only have sweep in one plane and one direction, single sweep, provided a straight line joining the midpoint of the pole at the butt and the midpoint of the pole at the top does not at any intermediate point pass through the external surface of the pole. Timber poles with more than one complete twist of spiral grain are not acceptable. Butt slivering due to felling is permitted if the distance from the outside circumference is at least 1/4 of the butt diameter and the height is not more than 1 feet. Use preservative treatment in accordance with AWPAU 1, Commodity Specification D. Furnish poles with a minimum net retention of preservative treatment in accordance with Table 1. Mark all poles by branding in accordance with Table 2. Table 1. Retention of preservative treatment. Treatment and minimum retention. Creosote treatment has a minimum retention of 9.0 pounds per cubic feet. Pentachlorophenol treatment has a minimum retention of 0.45 pounds per cubic feet. CCA treatment has a minimum retention of 0.6 pounds per cubic feet. Table 2. Timber pole markings. Marking and description of marking. PTC marking is the supplier's code or trademark, for example, Pole Treating Company. F01 marking is the plant location and year of treatment, for example, Forestville, 2001. SPC marking is the species and preservative code, for example, Southern Pine, Creosote. 5 to 35 marking is the class length, for example, Class 5, 35 feet pole. Place the bottom of the brand squarely on the face of the pole 10 feet, plus or minus 2 inches, from the butt. Furnish a treatment certification with every shipment of treated timber poles that includes name of treating company, location of treating plant, applicable product standard, AWPAU 1, charge number, date of treatment, contents of charge, poles, preservative treatment, and actual preservative retention values. 3. Construction. Perform work in accordance with the details shown on the plans and the requirements of this item. Use established industry and utility safety practices while installing poles located near overhead or underground utilities. Consult with the appropriate utility company before beginning work. Set the pole a minimum depth in accordance with Table 3, unless otherwise shown on the plans. Table 3. Pole setting depth. Pole length, feet, and min setting depth, feet. Pole length of 25 feet or less has a minimum setting depth of 4.5 feet. Pole length of 26 to 30 feet has a minimum setting depth of 5.0 feet. Pole length of 31 to 35 feet has a minimum setting depth of 5.5 feet. Pole length of 36 to 40 feet has a minimum setting depth of 6.0 feet. Pole length of 41 to 45 feet has a minimum setting depth of 6.5 feet. Pole length of 46 to 50 feet has a minimum setting depth of 7.0 feet. Locate timber poles as shown on the plans or as directed. Drill holes for setting poles a minimum of 1.5 diameters of the pole butt. Set the poles plumb, unless otherwise shown on the plans. Backfill the holes thoroughly by tamping in 6 inches lifts. After tamping to grade, place additional backfill material in a 6 inches high cone around the pole to allow for settling. Use material equal in composition and density to the surrounding area. Repair surface where existing surfacing material is removed, such as asphalt pavement or concrete riprap, with like material to equivalent condition. 4. Measurement. This item will be measured by each timber pole installed. 5. Payment. The work performed and materials furnished in accordance with this item and measured as provided under measurement will be paid for at the unit price bid for treated timber pole of the various lengths and classes specified. This price is full compensation for furnishing and installing timber poles, and for all hardware, and materials, equipment, labor, tools, and incidentals. This payment clause excludes payment for treated timber poles when subsidiary to another item.